Well, let's see. We got a couple of streets that are going straight down. It's like might be the San Francisco of Israel. Good morning, November 23rd, 2021. And we are at the shore of the Sea of Galilee. This is where Jesus walked on water. Pretty heavy stuff. We tried it and it didn't work for us. A lot of nature going on here.
When Jesus was born, the land was occupied by the Romans. Herod was a Jewish king under the auspice of the Roman Empire. Once Herod passed away, his kingdom is being split between three of his children, and beside the king that is up here in the north, the two other sons very quickly were put away by the Romans, and the Romans sent their own governor, procurator, to rule the country. One very famous one we meet in Jerusalem was Pontius Pilatus.
Pontius Pilate?
Jesus is born. He's born. So there are two kind of people here. There are the Roman soldiers. There are Greek people who lives here in the country, and there are Jews. Christianity is still not started. So Jesus is born to a Jewish family.
Right.
He's born in Bethlehem. You will visit Bethlehem in a few days and visit the temple at the age of 1 month. Then they have to run away to Egypt. Came back to Nazareth. Approximately at the age of 33, he started his ministry.
Yes.
In Cana, and then he's leaving Nazareth and coming to Capernaum, and this is his town when he's doing the ministry. So the first stop will be the city of Capernaum, where we're going to visit.
And what's there?
First church in the world was where he lived, and he lived in the house of Peter's mother-in-law. By itself unique. Usually a woman will go live with the husband family, and in this case Peter goes and live with his mother-in-law. So this is Capernaum, and we'll get there, we'll see. But what is kind of important, I will try to do some of the connection. Jesus come with a new message, but he's speaking to Jewish people who are brought up and educated and trained to listen to specific way of teaching, and he's using those methods in order to bring the new message. And during the visit today, I will show you some of those connections, how he speaks to Jews, bringing new message, but in a way Jews can understand it. Okay, now we are going to listen to a teaching. We have to understand now it's not just a regular conversation. There is a teaching here. There is a message here. We have to tune ourselves to in a different way, and we'll see it during our 3 churches that we'll visit this morning, and we'll see also the new message.
Very interesting. We will see a lot today.
A lot. Yeah.
I just saw a sign that said Capernaum.
We're getting very close.
So is Capernaum where our first church is?
One of 2 first churches.
Okay. So we have a reading of the Bible.
Yeah, you will do the reading. I think it's more appropriate when it's...
Now when Jesus heard that John had been taken into custody, he withdrew into Galilee, and leaving Nazareth, he came and settled in Capernaum, which is by the sea, in the region of Zebulun and Naphtali.
Yeah.
This was to fulfill what was spoken through Isaiah and the prophet.
The land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, by the way of the sea beyond the Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles.
Okay.
So now let's get the map of that time.
Uh-huh.
And you have the 12 tribes, where the 12 tribes each was. Zebulun, Naphtali, the Sea of Galilee,
Yeah.
and the Gentiles were here.
Okay.
So, and we are here, Capernaum.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
In the area,
So Jesus came here and his ministry.
this is the place, the base where he is for the 3 years that he's doing his ministry.
Okay.
Is basically from here, but it's not only from here, because we know later on he says, and then he began to denounce. This is Matthew. He denounced the cities which most of his miracles were done. This is the place, as it says, most of the miracles are done
In this,
in this area and in Capernaum. I believe the excitement, right? This is Peter's home.
Okay.
So when Jesus came into Peter's home, he saw his mother-in-law lying sick in bed with fever. He touched her hand and the fever left her, and she got up and waited on him. Now this is where Jesus stayed during his ministry in this area. It's not facing anything, it's facing the holy place. Get the difference? In every place we building a place, we say it's holy. In Israel we say this is holy place, let's build a church. Bigger and bigger.
Oh, so the center thing here was the house, and then
they start to say, okay, we don't use it as a house anymore. This is a place of worship. Pray here, and they build a small church. And remember, initially Christians are being persecuted
yeah.
until the year about 324, 22, 24. Constantine, the emperor, says, now it's he converts, and he says, we accept Christianity. And 60 years later, another emperor will say, we all convert to Christianity. Now it's the of the nation, of the empire.
yeah.
And then they build, when it became the church of belief of the nation, of the empire, this is the church, the first church they built.
So this is the church.
But before it's the church, you see those walls?
Yeah.
It used to be the house of Peter's mother-in-law.
Okay.
Peter lived here, and Jesus lived here. And then they took the house, and this is why we see those walls, and changed it
And
to
made.
enable it to be a church, and then it became bigger and bigger.
Oh, nice. And now we can see it from the church that is on top of it.
But initially those walls do tell us it was a home, it was rectangular home.
Yeah. So we see a lot of this emblem, and that's a Franciscan emblem?
Yeah, the Franciscan order emblem, and
Okay.
they are the custodians of these holy sites in the Holy Land
Okay.
in the last
That's good to
800
know.
years,
Yeah.
appointed by the, again, 800 years ago, and still by the Pope appointed as the custodians of the holy sites in Israel. So most of the churches, the Catholic churches, now it's when the local Christians
Yeah.
were mostly those converted to Catholicism. They are the first one with the permission to keep the prayers in their own language and not to change to Latin, which in 65
Yeah.
changed completely, but until keep their language, Arabic by the way, and to keep the churches look as Greek Orthodox Church, although there are differences.
This is really nice. So this is the city all around. Is it Paul's mother-in-law?
Peter.
Peter.
Paul comes after Jesus is
Okay.
already.
So Peter was already schmoozing with Jesus to become pope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a good politician.
Oh, how nice. How cool is that? Now, how many did Jesus have any brothers and sisters?
He has brother. John is his brother.
Okay.
He's the disciple John. Is his younger brother.
From Mary and Joseph.
Yeah, we don't know sisters. But at least one brother, and yeah, he had family because in Jerusalem they speak about his family. John, his mother, siblings coming to Jerusalem.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
He's the eldest son.
Synagogue of Capernaum.
Where Jesus preached more than once.
So this would be a road too, right?
Yeah, this will be a road trip, exactly. And you can see this will be a home and this will be another home. And they share this
Okay.
wall together.
So they had a couple rooms per home.
Exactly.
So now we're going into the temple.
Now we're going into the synagogue. Temple, for us, temple there is one.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. So where is the temple?
In Jerusalem,
Okay.
the Temple Mount.
Okay.
Today, mosque. By
Okay.
the way. And even before, but definitely after the temple was destroyed, Jews are praying in synagogue.
Okay.
So Jews, when you said about the Bible, the Bible, the Torah, is sealed. We cannot change it anymore.
Right.
But there are changes because the Torah speaks about the temple, and suddenly there is no temple, so we have to figure out things what we don't do anymore,
Yeah.
and how we keep tradition without being able to go to a temple. And synagogue was, in some places, the first time they called it is like temple minor, and then they use the word synagogue.
So this is the synagogue of Capernaum.
Yeah. And now I'm going to surprise you because you will tell me the mass that you do every Sunday morning,
Uh-huh.
and you eat the bread and the
Yes.
wine is coming from the Last Supper.
Yes.
So let me surprise you. And here in the synagogue, and it's part again, it's John 6. So Jesus said to them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in yourselves." So actually it starts here, but definitely
Yeah.
Last Supper is the most significant place.
Yeah. This is a 3rd century synagogue.
But this is Jesus' time.
Okay.
There was a major in Israel we get good earthquake every about 100 years.
Uh-huh.
And every few hundred years there are major. 363 there is a major earthquake. And this synagogue was, so probably the synagogue, the original one was destroyed, and then this one was rebuilt. Because of the rules of the Roman Empire, of the Byzantine Empire already at that time, the Christian Byzantine Empire, new synagogues cannot be built. Only you can rebuild your synagogue. So they rebuilt, so we know this is the synagogue, this is where the synagogue of Capernaum was, and this is the synagogue that Jesus preached in. A Jewish boy, even in that time,
Yeah.
the age of 3, is too young to help his parents doing whatever they are doing for
Right.
making living. He's been sent to the synagogue every day to study.
And
He learned the Torah, learned the Bible.
and the synagogue was in the section to the right here.
Section for the kids to learn. And we know that Jesus was a real scholar. He knew everything. The reason is
A pretty sunny day.
Is this where he moved the sellers out of the synagogue and said he was doing his father's work?
It's not this synagogue, it's in the synagogue in Nazareth.
Okay.
So he was studying, and we know he was when he was in the age of 12, he went to the temple and
Yeah.
he argued with the priests, and he knew this stuff quite well. He knew how to argue with them. And the reason is because he goes to synagogue and he learns.
Yeah.
Now, between that visit and the beginning of his ministry, there is another 15, 16 years that we don't know what he did. He might work with his father, he might.
Yeah.
Joseph is
Carpenter.
He's carpenter and he's gone. Carpenter, by the way, at that time is doing construction. It's not just carpenter.
Yeah, it's not making a bench.
Yeah, it's he's doing a
More
lot of things.
involved.
But we don't know what he's doing, and then he starts his ministry. But definitely knew every word in the Bible, because when he argue, when he's preaching, you have to preach to people who know the Bible. You have to spend. This takes me to the.
Yeah, so that's where he learned.
I think I want to show you.
Yeah.
You have to speak with people who speak the language of the Bible, and he comes with a new message, but it has to come through that tunnel. And a very interesting tunnel or way of teaching is parables. Jewish use parables all the time.
Yeah.
Who hears those words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who builds his house on the rock. The rain comes down, the stream rose, and the winds blow, beat against the house, yet it did not fall, because it has a foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears those words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain comes down, the stream rose, and the wind blew and beat against the house and fell with a great crash. So he's using the same method to bring a new
Yeah,
message.
yeah.
The new message, his words, we're speaking
Yes.
in another church, and probably every time you go to church, you
Yeah.
get the new
Well,
message.
Now, what's that building over there?
Which one? So this is the monastery of the Franciscan today. This is where
Okay.
they live.
Okay, that's what that is.
It's always the menorah.
Oh.
The menorah is
The candles.
candles in the temple, 7 candles. Next week we're starting Hanukkah, 8 candles, symbolizing the 7 candles of the menorah and the miracles of saving the menorah for 8 days. This is why confusion, but in the temple, 7 candles menorah, and when we find this, we know, okay, this was a Jewish community. A column resembling the column of the temple.
So this is a homeless guy, but then if you look at his feet, you can see that it could be Jesus.
So this is a modern. It's not more than 5 years here. It started the sculpture. The original sculpture was done in Ireland by an Irish sculptor, and he wanted us to remember that when we see homeless, Jesus didn't have work. He stayed with Peter's mother-in-law. He was going around here doing his ministry, and he didn't have home. He was, in a way, homeless. He was always welcome. People appreciated him, but he didn't have home.
Yeah.
And he was walking from one town to another here around.
Okay.
So we were in Capernaum, we moved to Tabacha, here. And when we zoom in, we are in the Church of Multiplication. There are few springs, hot springs that's coming into the water here. And although we have the Bible, we have also the quotation from Matthew here of being here on the seashore and taking the loaf and breads and multiply them.
Okay.
People.
And that was here.
It was here. When it was evening, the disciple came to him and said, the place is desolate and the hour is already late. So send the crowd away and they go into the village and buy food for themselves. But Jesus said to them, they do not need to go away. Give them something to eat. And they said to him, we have only 5 loaves and 2 fish. And he said, bring them to me. Ordering the people to sit down on the grass, he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up towards the heaven, and blessed the food, and breaking the loaves, and gave to the disciples, and the disciple gave to them, to the crowd. And they all ate and were satisfied. They picked up and was left over of the broken pieces, 12 full baskets. There was about 5,000 men who ate, beside women and children. And
That's a good crowd.
Yeah, and this is very interesting. 5,000 men,
Yeah, and women.
and children.
So there's about 10,000 people.
Quite a lot of people here.
Yeah.
And if the children is 3 years old, he doesn't eat much. But if he's 13 and he's still
Yeah.
and he's before bar mitzvah, they eat a lot. This is the 4th century is the important one. Because
So this is the first church?
no, the first church is where the disciples came after ascension
Uh-huh.
and prayed. And
Peter's
this is
mother-in-law.
Capernaum. Yeah, Peter's, and this is Capernaum. This church was rebuilt and rebuilt and rebuilt. So the first of this church, not the first church, but it started again, 1st century.
Yeah, you can see the orange outline. Looks like the first church or the first building here.
The first building. So the first building is on the 4th century. 4th century again, Christianity becomes the faith of the empire, and then we start to build churches on the holy places.
Yes.
Before that, it's hidden. Remember Peter's house? It
Yeah.
was small. The first one was very small, hidden one, and then it's becoming bigger, and then again earthquake, Muslim invaders, earthquake, and the last one was built. So we get this blue one here. But some of the mosaic that we will find, and here is when they rebuilding it, some of the mosaic are from this.
Okay.
So the church on the floor have different mosaics, and some of them is here. We have, we'll see it there, but we'll see it from far away. 2 fishes, and how many loaves we have?
What was it, 5 and
It's 5 here, but how many have we have here?
7?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Ah,
Where is the 5th?
yeah.
Every Sunday they bring the 5th.
Ha 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 ha.
Truly, this is
Good tradition. So we're going to see the church.
Los que comieron eran unos 5.000 hombres, sin contar mujeres ni niños. Palabra de Dios y alabamos a Dios.
So we have more than one mosaic.
in Israel that have the Nilometer that shows you
Okay.
how much we also depend on the bread coming from Egypt. Starting, if you go to the Bible, from the days of Joseph and his brothers, Jacob, that sent his sons to Egypt to bring bread when there is drought in Israel. So it goes throughout history. Take a picture of this. From the first pope almost until the current one.
It looks like the bottom one's got wet. Baptized.
And this is the previous pope. I don't have the current one. I also say to you that you are Peter. And upon this rock, or in other words, upon this Peter.
Yeah.
Peter is a rock in Greek. Petrus. Upon this rock, I will build my church. So Peter became the leading disciple already
Yeah.
in Caesarea Philippi. But then, after now we're moving ahead in Jesus' life, crucifixion, resurrection. And during those 40 days, he's with us after crucifixion and before ascension. He comes here and he meets his disciples here. And tradition says that here is the place that he comes and meet them and makes them breakfast. Another name of the church is Peter Primacy or Mensa Christi. Say to them, cast the net on the right-hand side of the boat, and you will find a catch. So they cast them. So then they were not able to hold, and because great number because of the great number of fish. This is John 20. Therefore, the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." So when Simon Peter heard that this was the Lord, he put his outer garment on, for his stripped for work, and threw himself into the sea. But the other disciple came in a little boat, for they were not far from the land, and about 100 yards away, dragging the net filled of fish. And here he makes them the breakfast. And here Simon again, Peter again, get the reconfirmation for his primacy. So every pope that visits Israel comes here as well.
Right.
When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him. He opened his mouth and began to teach them, saying,
Before we say what he's saying, so we're on the mountain where Jesus came and preached to his disciples, quite a few thousands of them probably, and
If it was like the fishes, there were about 10,000.
here the message is important, and I think you want to record the message.
Yes.
"Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who, because of me, rejoice and be glad, for your reward in heaven is great. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you."
So this is
Yeah.
the message. Now I'll give it to you in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
U.S. Admiral John McCraven.
Okay, the U.S.
And he gave
Admiral.
once a keynote speech in the University of Texas. He's a graduate, and he speaks about his SEAL training. And part of the speech, he speaks about, before that, SEAL training is doing the impossible for about 6 months. The lesson from this is, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter how much you have, it doesn't matter what you wear. The only things that matter is the size of your heart.
Yeah.
And this is the message here. So it's, again, it's a church that is built around the center of the important place. It doesn't have to face anything, because this is holy place. This is the site where things happen. And the beatitude, the blessing in Latin, are on the walls of the...
Oh, let's take a look.
So let's go inside.
This is the Sea of Galilee. The apostles loaded their boat with fish, and Jesus walked on water. Now it's time to go on a boat. The Hope Boat. Galilee worship. I like your boat.
You will read this, and I will translate.
Go ahead.
Immediately he made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side, while he sent the crowds away. After he had sent the crowds away, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray, and when it was evening, he was there alone. But the boat was already a long distance from the land, battered by the waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the fourth watch of the night he came to them walking on the sea. When the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified and said, "It is a ghost," and they cried out in fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, "Take courage, it is I, do not be afraid."
So he's the only one who walked.
Yeah, he's one who walked on water. And it was right here at the Sea of Galilee.
When they were using the boat to go to the other side of the Sea of Galilee.
Yeah. So he might have gone to our hotel. Yeah.
Yeah. Enjoy to say. Have a good dinner. Maybe they had barbecue.
In Luke?
Luke, we basically use it for the history now.
Okay.
So the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar, when Pontius Pilate was governor of Judea, and Herod was the treasurer of Galilee, and his brother Philip was the treasurer of the region of Iturea. So yesterday we visited Caesarea Philip,
Yeah.
after the brother, and another one here, and there is another one in Jerusalem.
Okay.
Beside Philip, the two others are out of. They weren't as good as their father was, which reigned for.
Oh, Harold's.
Yeah, he reigned for 34 years, and he actually changed the landscape. He built cities and he built.
We got some fishing going on here. The boat ride on the Sea of Galilee. Normally we would be with a group of 15 or 16, but we're with a group of 2.
So this is Tiberius, but the whole Sea of Galilee is so important in terms of faith because it's where Christianity started. Or the ministry of Jesus was around here. And also, this is where the Jewish Talmud was written, here in Tiberias. So, after the Bible was sealed, the next book to come is what we call Mishnah and Talmud, the oral Bible, putting into writing, and it was done here in Tiberias, close to Nazareth. First version, and then the version that the Mishnah, and then the full book was written in what we call the sealed here.
Now we were talking before, and we were discussing whether Mary Magdalene was a whore. And you're saying she was not.
I'm saying she was. I think she wasn't. I think she was a follower. It doesn't say anywhere in the Bible that she was.
She was a follower, like a groupie.
Like a groupie.
Yeah.
Wasn't like the disciple student of Jesus, but definitely a follower and believer. And she saw him as either a great rabbi or Magdalene.
Yeah.
This is so if you look there, this is where she came from, Mary of Magdal, from this area. Behind those, this shade, the white shade, is a synagogue of Magdala.
So that was the town that Mary Magdala was from. And she was from a fairly
Magdala is
well-off.
Well-off, yeah. Magdala is a village of well-off people.
So she was a woman of means that she could follow Jesus without too much trouble. So we're now going to where the boat is. Now this is a boat that is similar to the one that they would have in the time frame of Jesus, but not necessarily the same one. Could be, but we don't know. Is that right?
That's right, but could be is a small option. I wouldn't go there.
The possibility of could be is 1%. But could be.
Could be.
Could be. And in religion, could be means it is. So we're going to see the boat that Jesus was in. Could be.
Could be.
The sign of Magdala is important because that is the reference to Marian of Magdala. Or Marian, what was her name, Deb?
Mary Magdalene.
Mary Magdalene.
But Mary comes from Miriam.
Yeah.
She didn't speak English. We can debate whether she spoke Greek, Aramaic, or Hebrew. Probably at least two of those languages, but she didn't speak English.
No. Well, let's see. We got a couple of streets that are going straight down. It's like might be the San Francisco of Israel. Oh, we kind of hit some level ground here. Now we were wondering if this is a two-way road because some cars are facing the other direction. We hope not, but it could be.
Could be.
1%.
Actually, 50%.
Yeah. But I was joking about the boat. Oh, look at that. Another downhill. Good thing Nazareth is built on a mountain. Makes it a little bit more exciting. We thought we'd take the tourist route. Now he's going to go in the opposite direction. Good job, lady. Always women. Now, what is the name of this church?
Church of Annunciation.
Okay, that's where Mary.
Not Ascension, Annunciation. He created the world.
He made it in 7 days.
Yeah, but how? What did he do?
He was God. He created it.
How? It says. And God says, let there be light.
Yes.
And God says,
Okay.
so God's words created the world.
Yes.
And then John tell us, and the word became flesh. We say the beginning, I will start John 1, chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning was the word. And then I'm jumping, and the word became flesh. And where did it happen? Here. When God became flesh, Jesus
Okay.
is here. So this is when Joseph is told. The angels come to, and the angel of the Lord appeared to him is Joseph, in a dream saying, Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary as your wife, for the child who has been conceived in her is the Holy Spirit. I will bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus. But then later on, fulfill what was spoken by the Lord through the prophet Isaiah. And here is the quote from Isaiah: "Thee shall bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel." Here you need to have someone who speaks Hebrew to tell you what is the meaning of this name.
Yeah.
Imanu, with us, El, God. So his name will be God with us. And this is what in Latin is written here.
Emmanuel. Right. Yeah. God is with us.
Behold, the virgin shall be with the child, and shall bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel.
Luke tells us.
Luke chapter 1, verse 26. Now, in the 6th month of the angel Gabriel, the angel Gabriel was sent from God to the city of the Galilee called Nazareth, to a virgin engaged to a man whose name is Joseph, of the descendant of David. The virgin name was Mary. And coming in, he said to her, "Greeting, favored one, the Lord is with you." But she was very perplexed at this statement and came pondering what kind of situation. She's a woman, and there is a man approaching her. This is
Not good, yeah.
not good. The angel said to her, "Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God, and behold, and you will conceive in your womb and bear a son, and you shall name his Jesus.
So this is a modern building.
The modern building is 1964.
Okay.
This building was built, but again on top of a Byzantine church that was destroyed, and a Crusader church that you see part of the
stones.
stones here of the Crusader time. And in 1964, when they built it, they asked each nation that have Christian in it to send a mosaic of Mary. And I'm not sure the second floor is up there,
I know, I noticed it.
but you see, very interesting. So, life of Jesus, born, running to Egypt. So this is over there is where he is in the temple, running to Egypt. This is the three wise men coming when he's born, and not in the Bible, but while with his father baptized. So you see the dove, and preaching,
And
and ascension.
An exception.
So he's resurrected, and then 40 days later he's ascended to. A small village around us. And how do we know it's a Jewish village? Because they have this ritual bath. As we said, they only have to do it once a month. Men usually do it before Shabbat. They don't have to, but they do. So you have the ritual bath. And they believe that this is Mary's home and room where she met the angel. And we can go down there. And down there, take pictures, but also, my suggestion, stop for a second to take picture with the heart. This is important place.
yeah.
Let's go. Let them meet become factum came flesh, and it's happened here. Nice. Although they have some ceremonies down there as well.
What a beautiful church. These are all mosaics that were donated by different countries. You have France there, Canada, Japan,
Japanese Jesus and Japanese.
oh yeah, Mexico, how pretty. Australia, Brazil, Polonia, United States, Portugal. Spain. Oh, look at how the knees are shiny from everybody touching it.
Yeah.
Who is this now? Joseph?
We're heading towards this place.
Joseph.
I like it. So now we're going to Joseph's house. Yeah, it looks like this could be a head buster here. Closing up for the night. So this is Joseph's house.
Meaning, this is the house that Jesus grew up in. Over there, he was created. The Word became flesh. But then he was born, and eventually they came back to Nazareth. And the mosaic showing was grown up. But imagine 3 years old Jesus playing around him. And again, another small ritual bath with many Jewish houses there.
Yeah. Was that part of it too?
Yeah, all of this.
Now there is a church, but during that time, this house has a roof, but that's it. It's not going all the way up. There is a roof and a house, and the workshop and the kitchen and place where you take a ritual bath. And this is your bath. This is
Yeah.
it. At that time, we didn't take a shower every day. From here, there is a church here, it's called Synagogue Church, but not necessarily on top of a synagogue. But from here, we go to a synagogue until they kicked him out and learned the Torah as a child, and then started to preach as an adult and living Nazareth. No prophet in his own city.
Wow.
And it makes sense, they saw him, I told you, imagine him here 3 years old. They saw him as a baby, they saw him growing up. And suddenly he started to preach and say, I will tell you what's right. And the elders of the city looks at him and say, what do you mean you tell us?
Yeah, you're just a kid.
We educated you. We told you, you will not tell us anything.
Yeah.
Oh, no prophet in his own city.
The Church of St. Joseph.
So, Joseph and Jesus. Jesus held the book, the Torah, the Bible. During his time, it's still only the Torah. The verse that he's holding is ask Joseph from Pharaoh's, Joseph, the brother of the 12 tribes, the son of Jacob, that was sent to Egypt and prepared Egypt for the 7 years of drought. So when the first year started and there was drought, and people came to the Pharaoh and said, what should we do? He said, go ask Joseph.
So we're leaving St. Mary's, and the religions are multiple here in Israel, and you could hear the call of prayer by the Muslims.
He's in.
Now, what that was a menorah?
This was a Chanukiah, which symbolized the miracle that happens to the menorah.
Now, what's the difference between the menorah?
The menorah is 7 candles. This is 8 candles.
Okay, and what is the significance of 7 verses 8?
7 is what says in the Bible. This is the holy menorah of the temple. When the Maccabees came back to rebuild the temple after the Greek destroyed it, they found a jar of olive that have enough olive only for 1 day of light.
Right.
And they need at least 8 days to prepare more oil. And this 1 jar of 1 day kept the light for 8 days. So we have 8 candles for the Chanukiah
celebrating the holiday and the miracle, not the menorah, but the miracle of having enough oil for the menorah. So it's
Okay.
but the menorah is the
7 candles.
7 candles of the temple that was lit.
And the 8 candles is the celebration of the saving of the
miracle.
oil
Yeah,
for the menorah.
exactly.
Now,
Now this is in the book of the Maccabees, which is part of the Christian Bible, but we celebrate it because we believe in it.
yeah,
We don't have it in our Bible, it's part of the Bible, but we are believing in the story and celebrate it. And as you can see, on the last day in Jerusalem, we'll see so many more of those, what we call Chanukiah,
the celebration
celebration
of the menorah.
of the menorah. And again, another small ritual bath with many Jewish houses there.
Yeah. Was that part of it too?
Yeah, all of this.
Now there is a church, but during that time, this house has a roof, but that's it. It's not going all the way up. So there is a roof and a house, and the workshop and the kitchen and place where you take the ritual bath. And this is your bath. This is
Yeah.
it. At that time, we didn't take a shower every day. And from here, there is a church.